Welcome to today's Corporate Venturing Insider series. I'm so happy to have Barbry from Workday Ventures with us today. Barbry, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So I'd like to start by asking, what was your journey into corporate venturing?
Sure. So my background, I've been a career product manager and product officer for enterprise software for over 20 years. And did that at PeopleSoft, Oracle, and then lastly Workday. And thought I had done everything in my career. And believe it or not, I was thinking of retiring.
Okay.
And I actually gave my notice because I thought I did everything possible in my career at Workday. And I was sitting on my deck in South Carolina, enjoying a beautiful evening with my husband, who was retired. And I got a call from our CEO and founder of the company. And he said, "Barbry, you can't retire. You're younger than me." And I'm not retiring. And we just happened to have the co-head of ventures just left. And I really want to have someone with your product expertise be part of Workday Ventures. Would you come over and be the co-head of ventures? And that was 4 years ago. And he said, all you have to do is give me 1 year. And I promise you that you're going to love it and you're going to want to stay. And after 1 year, I went up to Anil and I said, you know what, Anil? I do love it and I do want to stay because it's the best job. It takes all the aspects of product management and product strategy at a time where innovation is at an all-time high without having to manage people. All you have to do is manage money and then meet with really interesting people. So I love it. So I've been there ever since and hope to stay there for a lot longer.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I think it's a dream job.
Absolutely.
Now, you talked about product management as part of what's really important for corporate VC, and it's not something I've heard many times before. So could you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting, too, because I haven't met that many people that got into corporate VC from being a product manager.
I was a product manager. That's why I'm asking.
And I heard that this morning. I thought, I do know someone now. I think it's really helped me in the beginning figure out how to add value right away to the organization. Because when we were set up as a CVC, the intent was to help find emerging, innovative software as a service companies that could be very complementary to Workday. So knowing the products and knowing what could be complementary really helped me in the beginning get the trust and the relevance with the organization. If I didn't have that, I think that would have been more difficult to get the eyes and ears of the product GMs. So that was one part of the mission. The other part was to become like a market sensor, which we had to first prove value before we could move into that. And the other one was to stay really close to the market, which was something that I love to do anyways from my product background. We have 70 portfolio companies today. I would say the majority, especially the most recent ones, are all product-led founders.
How much of that is your own bias when you select for investment?
It could be because I have an affinity for that for sure. But I do find that's the bulk of founders out there for sure.
I think there's something about product people really understanding what the customer pain point is and trying to build a solution for them. But sometimes the product is not quite developed yet. So when you have the customer references and the product is not quite there, how do you assess it's solving a real pain point, even though it has not been validated yet?
And that's a great question. We don't do seed.
Oh, okay.
So we did, when I first started, we did seed. And that was really difficult to predict, I would say. So we moved away from that. We invest in companies that have at least 5 to 10 customers. So they're starting to get product market fit. And so that's exciting for me because then you can really test, okay, they do have a solution here. Sometimes they try to go too broad too fast. And so just helping them kind of stick in their lane, make sure that they get the traction in that first part of the product before they go too broad.
And at that point, you can really leverage your superpower, which is to really understand the customer, the pain point, validate the product. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And so you don't do seed anymore. Series A is probably the sweet spot.
Yes.
At Series B, it becomes obvious for everyone.
Yes. And we do some select C as well. Now, what's really interesting is we found that the Series A is disappearing in enterprise software and even in AI startups because what was happening, I think we're starting to see them come back now, but the big LLM and frontier models, as soon as they got product market fit, they were swooping in and getting them as they were starting to go to a Series A. And so we had seed and we had Bs.
Yeah.
But there weren't a lot of Series A, but I am now seeing a lot of Series A come back.
And did you start thinking about changing a bit your strategy to go earlier for the AI startups? Or?
Yes, very much. And we do like to get to know companies in the seed stage. And we have a lot of networks that are all seed. And so they'll incubate them and then they'll send them over to us. But the earlier, the better that we can get to know them. I like to have them way in advance of when they're doing a round because that helps improve our chances of getting in a round as well.
Now, we talked about the customer references, but there's also the entrepreneur you're meeting.
Yes.
Is there anything that for you influence you in terms of how they message, how they communicate, how they present the product? What it is that you really watch out for to identify which one you would invest and which ones you wouldn't?
I do have a sweet spot for any founder that demos the product. Especially because at that early stage, if you're not demoing the product, how well do you know the product? I see right away, because there are some founders that are product founders that aren't demoing the product.
Really?
Yeah. And so for me, that's always a question. Why aren't you demoing the product? We look for founders probably that have our core values, that put the customer first, right? That have what we call humility, right? They're not arrogant. You can run across that sometimes because they have to be so strong. That's really important that they have those pieces together. A lot of times they could be a first-time founder. And so what we want to make sure with a first-time founder is that they've got a strong supporting network around them. We do check founder references, and we try to do that. We don't go through them to get the founder references. We go around either the lead investor or other people that we know that might know the founder. A lot of times they don't know the enterprise market as well. It's hard. I always ask about the moat. I think in this day it's so quick to clone and easy to clone, but making sure that they're thinking through how are you going to differentiate, how are you going to separate yourself from the pack. So those are the strategic questions I tend to ask them around. That is really important for us.
One thing I've seen is sometimes, especially at Series A, you have a really strong CEO who's very good at selling a solution and the customers love it. And then it doesn't manage to scale because no one can sell like the CEO.
That's right. Yeah. I have seen that in spades. And then helping them transition, because that's very hard too. And a lot of times they'll make a mistake that early on and go and hire a very experienced senior salesperson, which they don't need at that point. What they really need is someone that they can train and that they can mentor and start to develop out that before they go into that executive role in sales. But yeah, that's a hard transition for founders, especially when they're really in love with the product, to make that, to trust someone else to be able to sell as effectively as they do.
And sometimes it's tough because to sell an unproven solution, sometimes you need to sell to the senior level of a company, to the CEOs.
Yes.
And they like CEO to CEO.
Yes.
But when it's a more junior person, it's very tough for them to break through.
That's true.
How do you validate or invalidate for that?
Yeah, we like to talk to, when we talk to the customer, we like to talk to how did they approach you? Who sold to you? Was it the founder? Was it someone else? What was it that you liked about their solution? So we're just going through the whole sales process and trying to get to the bottom of that are typically things that we will ask and go through.
I think you have a number of good questions for your customer reference. What are one or two questions you love to ask the customer that are not obvious?
Yeah, I guess these are obvious. Maybe I'll try to think of the unobvious. The obvious ones right off the bat is, what was the problem that you were trying to solve or the need that you were looking for? And then how well did the solution fit that need?
Yeah.
How are you measuring the ROI? The other questions we'd like to ask is, what could the venture portfolio company do better? What would you like to have seen that you haven't seen? Or where would you like to see the product go? Those are some of the things that we see. Or why did you pick this out of other competitors? But just trying to get a better perspective of their buying decision and how they made that buying decision. Was there a committee? Was it a single made decision?
Okay.
How do you estimate the value of it? Would you have paid more for the solution than you're paying today? And that gives you a question of whether they think that this company is so good that they would have paid more is also very helpful.
Which is impressive because they would never answer this question coming from the startup.
No.
But they would answer to you.
Yes. Yes. It's amazing what we can get from these customer references.
Yeah. And actually, it's really interesting because with these answers, when you invest, you already have a mapping of where they could go and give them good advice based on these customer references.
That's true. That's true. And that's a lot of times what I will help them do is think through their strategy, where they're going next, what I think some of the hurdles will be.
And do you typically join the board of the companies you invest in?
So I'm not allowed to be on a board, but I am allowed to be a board observer. And I really like that role.
So let me ask now the question about product management at the meta level. You're asked to join the corporate VC as a co-head. Clearly, you've had influence because you were investing in seed before you joined, and now Series A, which is really your sweet spot. How much of your product management skills you've applied to the design of the corporate VC?
Oh, good question. I don't know if I deliberately did that as much, but I do think that, like you would in product management, you have a goal of what you want your CVC to be.
Yep.
And for me, I didn't want us to be tactical. I started there, and I knew I had to start somewhere because we weren't seen as a strategic function. Internally, we were seen as, hey, we need a partner. We've got a gap here. We need something for our roadmap. And so I really wanted to change that. I wanted us to be seen as a more strategic function. So knowing that, I said, okay, we can get credibility really quickly by solving these high-profile pain points we know in the roadmap. But I quickly started orchestrating us changing that around. And I did use my product strategy, product marketing background, product management to say, no, we're not going to present products anymore to them. We're going to shift the conversation to be about the market. And we're going to come into them and say, here's what's happening in HR. Here's what's happening to the CHR. These roles are going away. AI is completely transforming. The top of the funnel is going away. And then bring them data. Because that was the key thing. Is it was one thing.
Substantiate.
Yeah, substantiate it so that it was irrefutable. And then these companies are getting to 100 million in ARR in a year. This is not like it used to be. And so just opening their eyes. And so just changing the conversation to be about the market and not about the products. We became a much more valuable organization, and it elevated the conversation because we used to talk to the product GMs. Pretty soon we were talking to corporate strategy. They wanted to model in what we were seeing. They wanted to know, and I think I mentioned this in our panel this morning, but we were talking about how it's no longer conversational AI. It's really moved to agents. And they thought we made up the word agent. And that was a very scary moment for me to realize that our product teams were so insulated that they didn't even know the word agent. And we found that a couple of times. So
that is scary.
It is very scary. Or MCP. They didn't even know about MCP, our integration team, our platform team. We knew that we had to educate them on a continuous basis. So we started doing monthly updates, then it became weekly emails, and then it started being quarterly presentations to the executive committee where we'd roll everything up, and then they wanted monthly updates. So it just changed everything from
the pace has changed.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I write a weekly newsletter, and it's so old by the time the next one comes out. Every day is something new. And
GTC last week.
Yes, I know. It just is incredible. And so they just helping them stay abreast of that. So we write a lot of briefings when those things happen because we have to get it up to the executive committee and the product team right away, right? As soon as we see something, we need to get it right away to the team. And so now we're getting pulled into those kind of conversations and pulled into those briefings. And I think another thing that helped with that product management hat is I always put it in context. What could this mean for Workday?
The so what?
Yeah, the so what. Like one of the things that I let them know, like I know we're really proud that OpenAI and Anthropic are Workday customers, but they're training on our software.
Yeah.
So it may be a good thing, but it's also a scary thing because they can leverage and get access to Workday actions through MCP based on the trainings. And so
it's an interesting SWOT analysis,
right?
It
is. Because one, it's an opportunity, another, it's a threat in balancing that back and forth. But I always make sure that we bring that angle back up and put a sharp POV to it so that we can get them to try to do action is really what we're trying to do.
I find that corporate VCs, one of our mission, no matter exploitation or exploration, is about removing blind spots for the corporation.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it. And we had a lot of blind spots. Shock, though, not knowing agent, not knowing MCP, we thought, okay, we have to really ramp and bring the education up.
Now let's talk about this messaging you're sending, because you mentioned about weekly emails,
Yeah.
quarterly updates that
Yeah.
becomes monthly. How do you make sure they are effective? I'm not talking efficiency, but effective.
Short. And very provocative headlines. It's almost like
Tell me more about this, because this is what I thought was so important, is to be provocative.
Yeah, it's almost how they try to catch you when they're doing sales calls, right? It's like Anthropic and OpenAI just released their agentic platforms, Frontier and Coworker. Anything that we can to get their attention, or Anthropic and OpenAI customers, good or bad. Things like that we think they'll want to read, right, around that.
I sometimes feel like it should be so provocative that if someone was about to leave work, they're like, no, I have to read it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're definitely getting, one week we didn't get a newsletter out. I forget what it was. And people were pinging us. When are you going to have the newsletter out? We got it out like a day.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah. So that's a good sign if you're getting pulled
you have
into
product market fit?
We do. We do have product market fit now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that email, you send it to how many people?
We keep it tight, so it goes to all the product GMs, and it goes to the executive committee, and then the CEOs copied on it. So it's that group in corporate strategy.
With people, or?
It's less than that. I think it's 30 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know if they forwarded beyond
I
that?
think it does get forwarded out.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And when you say short, you mean it can be read in 2 minutes or 5 minutes?
Oh,
or?
it can be read in 5 minutes.
5
but
minutes.
A lot of times I think what we also cover in that newsletter, so make the short summary at the top. Then we put the companies we're seeing. And so right now, like we have 3 investment thesis or areas that we're working in. We like to go very deep in HR and financial agents that are synergistic back to that product type. Then we're doing anything in services that we think are going to become software for the service industries we serve. So that would be healthcare, life sciences, financial services, higher education, retail, manufacturing, high tech. I think I named them all. So we're looking for any kind of agentic solutions there. And then everything around cybersecurity and non-human identity right now. Claudebot came out. It really freaked people out, especially in the enterprise space.
It's fair.
That we need governance, and the innovation's happening so much faster. What are enterprises doing to make sure that those don't get put into enterprise environments, and how do we have the governance around it? And so there's been just an explosion, and you would be amazed at the layers that it goes into having agents in productions, whether it's being able to bring that identity across multiple systems, whether it's being able to supervise what it's doing, whether it's encrypting the data that it's using and sharing, whether it's protecting against malicious attacks. But there's so many layers, software layers, hardware layers, but that's been like a big area that we've been focused in. So we'll put in, here's all the companies we're seeing and looking at and where they fit in conjunction with our products so they can kind of see. And then I think that's what gets forwarded, because those product areas want to see those products.
Okay. It's very actionable in a way. You can tell very quickly, okay, this touched someone in our team that needs to know this.
Yes.
There's something I love about this weekly email is you're basically raising the knowledge of the organization at the same time as you're learning.
Yes.
There's no latency. It's whatever you learn in that week, the 30 people that receive it and then forward it forward get the same learning.
Yes. And the other thing that we do is 1 week, because we have every quarter we do a portfolio review. And this is looking back at all our 70 companies and trying to look to see what trends and patterns are we seeing across these funds. And we've been testing out this theory around revenue to FTE, or ARR to FTE, that the AI natives have much higher ARR to FTEs.
Yep.
Hasn't proven out just yet. Now, we don't have the frontier models in our portfolio. If we did, I think that would prove out very easily. We're seeing, though, at the time that they start producing revenue, they're much higher in revenue per FTE. So the earliest AI native companies are already at 300 in ARR per FTE versus the mature SaaS companies.
Wow.
They're not surpassing them.
Any killer app in that agentic world?
I wish there was. I mean, we do use standard metrics. That's been really good. So we have financial rights as part of our side letter and our investment. So all of our portfolios, we get the financial information in. And that's been incredible, because you can do all kinds of analysis and forecast and simulations off of standard metrics. So I like that. But
we also use standard metrics.
We often take data out of there, though, to do more of the advanced analysis. I think they're going to put more AI features in there. We also use Affinity, and that's more kind of just tracking our pipeline. They are starting, and I was like, you've got to have AI in here. I can't work this hard to keep the pipeline updated. It's got to be automatic, right? And so figure out how to update it, because they have a lot of APIs. But we've had to create a lot of things around the tools versus the tools themselves do everything that you want them to do.
I think every software company, software as a service companies, have to reinvent themselves.
Yes. And that was another revelation that we said is our competition isn't Oracle and SAP. It's Anthropic and OpenAI.
I mean, it's part of the value capture.
Yes. And look at the revenue. We've never seen this amount of valuations, raises, revenue at this speed. It's just incredible.
It was so good talking with you. I love the fact you're a product person. I could really riff with you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. We could talk even for more hours.